One of the most powerful CEOs in the tech world is speaking out on the future of retail. Brian Sazi is live this morning at the National Retail Federation's big show here in New York City. And Brian, you got a chance to sit down with Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, of course. What did he have to say about shopping and big data?
Good morning, Alexis, and a big show indeed. So Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, gave the keynote on Sunday afternoon. I caught up with him exclusively after his keynote speech and got his take on the future of retail.
I think fundamentally, technology is just becoming a key part of the entire economy and entire life, right? It's not about retail per se, it's just that every part of our economy has to, in some sense, take technology and treat it more like a commodity input that then the art and science of retail gets to the next level. So when I think about, yes, we have some tough times, but at the same time, there's amazing opportunity. For example, take something like even omni-channel commerce. Any retailer who is able to really do a great job and a seamless job of that is gaining share, gaining customers, gaining loyalty. So it comes down to, in some sense, every retailer building their own, what I describe as tech intensity, so that they can be successful.
Retailers are sitting on so much data. Do they know how to use it?
That's the key. Retail and retailers have the most precious asset, which is commercial intent data. And you said it, which is what they do with it is going to define retail and their own prospects in it. Today, I think what they have been caught up in is, in some sense, sometimes, in fact, letting others benefit from their data. In fact, if you think about the amount of any retailer who continuously spending more in online advertising with the classic aggregators is essentially leaking value. Instead of that, let's say if they took commerce marketing, built their own advertising prowess as part of their own website experience, their own mobile experience, and even offline, and brought their data together, first they'll have a high gross margin new business, which in turn will help fund new experiences for their consumers, including shipping, as well as in fact provide a channel for every supplier out there. So I think it's possible. We see those examples. Home Depot, I talked about it, what they're doing, and I really would love for the 2020s to be defined differently.
There seems to be a lot more haves and have-nots in retail. Or retailers, let's say Home Depot, Starbucks, that have the money and that get tech, but then a whole other class that doesn't get tech. What does the future look like for them?
I feel the tech, in fact, our goal is one simple thing, which is how do we commoditize it? So the smallest of retailers, the examples, we talked about Netuzzi, a fashion retailer out of Italy doing a completely great job of how to think about retailtainment, or Canada Goose, or of course the Starbucks and the Home Depots and the Walmarts and the Walgreens. So we want the cross-section of retail, whether it's the smallest or the largest, and effectively our job, if we do it right, is to sort of say, okay, how can technology and the pricing on it become commoditized, the capability needed for the retailer to build their own capability, that learning curve has to come down.
Now, Alexis, if you read between the lines there on what Nadella says, he says, why are retailers dumping so much money into Google search advertising and even advertising on social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter? At least in his mind, at least my interpretation of it, build those capabilities internally, and he's shouted out Starbucks there. Starbucks is still seen as a leader in the tech space because they have invested a lot of money on artificial intelligence. They're not out there bombing the internet with a lot of ads on Facebook for cold brew coffee. They spent a lot of money internally.
Well, the world's largest retail conference, NRF, the National Retail Federation, continues at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City today. Yahoo Finance's Brian Sazi is there now. And Sazi, you had a chance to sit down exclusively with Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. What were some of the key takeaways from that conversation?
Well, one takeaway among many is the focus by Microsoft on data and why retailers better also need to use their data. But we also talked about the company's recent big win with the JEDI contract from the government for cloud services. Here's what he said.
To us, we've always been very focused as a platform company on public sector. In this case, the Department of Defense has been somebody who has been a customer for many decades. And this represents the natural evolution of that, given what we're doing with the cloud. But overall, I think it comes down to us staying grounded in where is computing going, how do we think about hybrid, which is a huge need out there, right? It's not just about the cloud, it's about cloud and its edge and AI, and trust. trust in business model, trust as a vendor, who is fundamentally going to only benefit when the customer, partner in this case, is able to get derived benefits.
And because of that big deal, do you feel as though you get more government business? You win more enterprise business?
I mean, any big deal has a halo effect. But to me, the more important thing is not to take any deal you won as some guarantee for future success, but to stay humble, stay grounded on what we need to continue to do, which is be obsessed about customer needs. That's what got us here, and going and doing what got us here is more of it versus somehow thinking that we've achieved something is going to be the key.
So that is Satya Nadella sounding pretty bullish on the JEDI contract, and we should remind everyone this was a $10 billion contract that will play out over 10 years that was awarded Microsoft at the end of October, and the market has very much embraced Microsoft stock since that contract. Stock is up about 15% since Microsoft landed, and with good reason. Certainly $10 billion over 10 years, that's a nice big chunk of money, but also to what Nadella was saying, there could be a halo effect more broadly on Microsoft's cloud business. You could see them win more enterprise business because of it.
NRF continues at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City today, and Yahoo Finance's Brian Sozzi is there. And Brian, you had the opportunity to sit down exclusively with Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella about what he expects for the retail space. So give us some of the key takeaways.
Yeah, what's up, Final Round team? Who better to ask about the future of retail than a company like Microsoft that is sitting on a ton of real-time data. So I asked Nadella what the future of retail will look like and who is doing it right.
To me, the trends I talked about, I think, are the ones that I think are big. Right? Personalization is a proxy for me for every retailer becoming an AI company. That is, use all the data that you have, all the signal you have, to personalize, whether it's online or offline. That's kind of one, and the Starbucks Deep Brew is a great example of that. Another was commerce anywhere. This is the omni-channel. If you order online, you want to pick up offline, but the seamlessness with which you do that, that's going to define your competitiveness. You know, digital marketing and digital commerce marketing, right? This is effectively every retailer not being dependent on some online aggregator and online advertising, but they themselves becoming a new online advertising channel. That, I think, is perhaps the single most strategic decision every retailer has to make, take control back. And lastly, it's that retailtainment. Like, how are you innovating? Because experience still matters. That's the art and the science coming together.
You mentioned Starbucks. You sit on the Starbucks board. What are they doing that other retailers aren't?
I mean, to me, Starbucks is a coffee company that cares deeply about coffee. And what they've always done is use technology to keep improving that core ethos of Starbucks, whether it is what they do in their supply chain or what they do in terms of the retail experience or their new mobile convenience experiences. Everything is about using technology, but never losing sight as Starbucks Coffee Company that it's about coffee and the coffee experience.
So if you read between the lines a little bit, guys, Nadella says that retailers might be better served acting like Starbucks. Instead of dumping out all of their money on search engine optimization or using Google or social media sites, start building your own internal AI capabilities to get the job done. In effect, they're giving their data away to companies that may not have their best interest at heart, and it's hard to argue with them. Look what Starbucks is doing. They are winning in retail. They've done a lot. They've led in many areas of tech. And then look at JCPenney. They're a completely dumpy retailer that has not got the job done on the tech front, and they're hurting as a result.
Brian, another winner that we've been talking about a lot is Lululemon, and the stock today, another 3.5% move higher here, continuing to hit record after record, boosting their fourth quarter earnings and revenue guidance. I mean, look, we've talked about this one a lot in here. I'm curious, though, being at NRF, I get a lot of companies have to be jealous of this one. What are your thoughts here on how much longer this can continue?
I'm not surprised. I spent $110 on a long-sleeve Lululemon shirt for our trip out to the World Economic Forum in a couple days, so I get it. The stores were packed. But the bottom line is this with Lululemon: they have low inventory, they have great customer service, and the products are priced almost 2 times more than the junk you'll see in JCPenney or Macy's. So I'm not shocked by these sales numbers. They have a lot of momentum in their business, and no other retailer is putting up close to high teens same-store sales increases like Lululemon just did. It's completely mind-blowing. It's a little abnormal, but they're getting the job done.
And as we heard from analysts before this pre-announcement, which they were expecting, they don't discount a lot. So I'm sorry you got stuck with that. There's like no coupons out there. Brian Sozzi, we'll see you tomorrow on The First Trade.
I've been saving my pennies.